The NBA Cup has served to inject a level of intensity into November and December regular season games we hadn't seen in a very long time. Add to that a Thunder team that came in on an all-time heater with a 16-game winning streak and best start to a season ever, plus the return of the eventual GOAT Victor Wembanyama. And while rust may have played a factor, so did his domination in this incredible back and forth that had us shaking from the Thunder and propelled us forward by the Spurs. Considering the Spurs went 9-3 without Wembanyama in the lineup due to injury, you might say to yourself, they're good without him and his impact isn't that great. But 7 of those wins were over suboptimal teams with distinct talent deficits. And when you encounter a team as historically good as OKC, you need the French connection. One reason is because with these NBA Cup games, the refs are putting their playoff glasses on, as Stephon Castle found out on this tough drive and finished without a whistle being blown. And when Chet tried to cut through the lane, Fox was being physical and handsy, and the refs want to let the players decide this game as much as possible. You know it's serious when even SGA can't get a call when driving into contact on his patented quick pull as he gets his shot blocked. Wemby was on a minutes restriction, so Spurs head coach Mitch Johnson had a puzzle on his hands in terms of figuring out when to spread his 20 minutes out across the game. It broke out like this, bookending the second quarter, a 5-minute stint in the middle of the third, and then bookending the fourth so he could play the crunch time minutes. To give you an idea of why the Spurs struggled so mightily in the first quarter without Wemby, his replacement Luke Kornet doesn't command much gravity on his roll to the basket, allowing Isaiah Hartenstein to focus on De'Aaron Fox until Dort can offer up a good contest on a tough midi. While Kornet does get the offensive rebound, he can't knock down the easy jump hook. Contrast that to the very first possession Wemby got in on to start the second quarter, where the Thunder gave up almost a foot of height when they tried guarding him with Jalen Williams. The Spurs get the same exact midi from a lefty, and this time, despite a double team on the box out, Wemby need only use a fingertip to put it back in. Watch this Kornet roll and ignore the little grab by SGA to start, I guess, but you'll see how they don't need to stick like glue to him. The Spurs aren't looking for him very hard despite being open, and Castle throws it right to Hartenstein for the turnover. Meanwhile, watch how much attention Wemby draws when he ball screens for Dylan Harper. Williams is stuck to his man, afraid to let him get going to the hoop, and he doesn't realize the ball's already past him on the way for a nice inside hand layup. What the Spurs simply don't have without Wemby is a low post presence, and just the simple act of throwing it to him near the lane draws no less than 3 defenders to the ball. I'd like to see Harper cut to the open spot under the basket here, and that would create a skip to a wide open Champagnie in the right corner. This is not a bad shot, but not the most optimal. We'll get to his defense in a minute, but even on a drive from SGA in transition here, he won't even consider a shot since Wemby is somewhere in the area and directly creates the steal of the pass. Now we see Wemby transition with the speed of a guard and command so much attention on the shot fake and potential attack that he lures the defender from one pass away, opening up the easy pass to Vassell for one of his 4 triples in this game. Wemby only got 2 assists last night, but he doesn't need to make the pass for a basket to be the main reason the shot goes in. On a simple curl off a guard screen in the lane, watch how far Wallace is willing to stray off his own man to prevent Wemby from getting the ball. That gives Fox plenty of space for the catch and shoot 3. And speaking of assists, while he struggled to maintain control of the ball through tremendous ball pressure from OKC, he does get it to Champagnie for the corner 3, but since the pass was deflected like this, the rules say he cannot be credited with the assist. And it's that threat of passing that makes him so dangerous as a scorer. First off, they tried to front him with J-Dub, who just looks comically short comparatively, and rotating a small guard to help is also ineffective, as he uses the pass fake to the corner to get Wallace in the air and they're forced to foul him. If Chet is guarding the post-entry passer, you can't front. It needs to be Chet coming from the weak side to help out on this. And it's hard to quantify just how much of an effect being so tall has on the game whenever he's on the floor. But what is quantifiable is how fun it is to play Prize Picks, where all you have to do is pick more or less in a variety of categories for a ton of different sports. It's the only app that offers stacks, where you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Here are my picks for tonight. I don't think Jordan Walsh is scoring a ton against the vaunted Pistons defense. Meanwhile, watch for Cam Spencer to fill up the box score nicely against the reeling and Chris Paulus Clippers. Follow me on the app so you can just copy my lineups, something you'll benefit from during basketball season. Best of all, download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. The absence of Wembanyama on defense is pronounced as Caruso measures up the floor, sees Kornet in the paint, and drives right past Johnson for the easy running jump hook with no contest. And Kornet does his best to drop against the pick and roll and split the difference, but simply can't cover enough ground or stop being faked out as Hartenstein lays it in. Now watch the absolute havoc Wemby can cause with the full extension contest on this step through by Williams. He then blocks someone closer to his own size before sprinting as fast as a guard can go, which drags Dort down into the paint before he realizes Harper is filling the lane behind him. Give Wemby some sort of assist for stretching the defense after an insane effort on the defensive end. We even got a juicy Chet versus Wemby battle of the limbs in the fourth quarter, and Chet can't get anything going. And I recommend not trying to sidestep over your shooting shoulder on Wemby. No one in the league is getting this shot off. His presence down low is so profound that we see Hartenstein committing the foul to try and clear him out lest he pressure the drive by Williams. On this attack by SGA, it looks like he glances at the rim to decide if he wants to get by Vassell, sees Wemby right there, and then opts to shoot the fadeaway as the shot clock expires and gets it returned to sender unceremoniously. I also want you to notice what his feet do on the shot. They naturally sway forward as his arm extends upward and outward. This kind of leg motion is very common, and as a shooting coach, something I help and encourage players to explore. There are plenty of examples of shooters who utilize the sway in various amounts in order to help the shoulder stay back and allow a smooth transfer of energy on the release. And when you extend a major limb like an arm up and out from the body, physics can dictate a natural reaction to this with the feet swaying forward to match. This is important to establish, particularly with SGA, since one of the more controversial calls happened towards the end of this game, and it roiled my mentions on Twitter for days. As we see on this sidestep shot where he had to get it over a tall defender and strong contest with a slight fadeaway and hang in the air, watch how his feet flow forward before landing on one foot and then regaining his balance with the right foot step before he'd fall down. Let's compare the amount of sway of the feet to see how much, if any, embellishment happens. There's definitely a range depending on defender distance and height needed to get it off, from 23 inches to 27 inches, and the defender gets very close on this sway that gets to 29 inches, and a comfortable 31 inches on a shot that looks very normal. So I hope this makes the point that the sway is not only a common shooting mechanic, but one that is known to the refs when trying to judge landing space fouls. And then we have the Spurs game. In a key moment of crunch time, his feet drift 34 inches into Harper's feet, triggering the landing space foul the NBA instituted to protect airborne shooters from sprained ankles. Now, the rule is the rule, and if the defender doesn't allow the shooter a safe spot to land, then it's a foul. And if you're wondering about the kick-out rule that would turn this into an offensive foul, well, that rule requires an offensive player to extend their leg out in an overt manner and cause the defender to be taken out of the play, usually by falling to the floor. Harper isn't affected by SGA's leg, and since SGA lands on his foot without a safe area to land, they blew the whistle. The only alternative would be a no call, and I'd like to see the rule amended to give the refs a little more leeway on landings where the contact is minimal like this. Down the stretch, these teams were trading incredible plays and demonstrations of skill at the highest level. You may think Caruso fouls every time he plays defense, but watch how he maintains legal guarding position by being directly in the path and square to Wemby on the initial contact. Then continues to maintain that position into the lane and amazingly is able to strip the ball clean in an incredibly rare upward swiping motion that somehow stops Wemby from scoring right at the rim. The decision to guard Wemby with 11 inches of height deficit continued to haunt the Thunder on this baseline out of bounds. Chet should have sniffed this out earlier and helped, but check the one-handed lefty flush of the lob. Watch how this blind flare screen catches Williams completely unaware, forcing an even smaller defender onto Wemby. This sucked Chet to the block off of a very good shooter, and Champagnie attacks a long closeout to the middle. SGA is brought into the paint by Wemby's gravity, and Vassell smartly lifts to the open area on the wing for a good look at the three. Down two, the Thunder utilized SGA's gravity at the nail to lure a double team from one pass away. Fox didn't need help at this moment, and leaving their second best offensive player wide open isn't a good strategy. The Spurs saw how well it worked for OKC getting their biggest advantage on offense to the free throw line, so they turn around and do it on their end, and this led to one of the more incredible sequences of both defense and offense we'll see. First off, the hand is part of the ball, and that's what the video evidence is showing us as the first swipe knocks the ball loose with totally legal hand-to-hand contact. The second swipe appears to not make contact, and some folks really wanted his left arm on the waist to be a foul, but it's not overt. He does not extend the arm at all or impart force with it, so it's easy to see why they would deem it incidental. And to prove that it had no effect on Wemby, the dude cold buries this clutch shot to regain the lead and lets Caruso know who he is as well. More incredible playmaking, this time off the foolish gamble by Caruso. But after getting scored on in this area, I could see why he thought it was worth it. And it led to an amazing swipe block by Dort, who is maybe 6'4" on a good day. He quick-timed it before Wemby could get full extension, where it would have been impossible to stop that close to the rim, and it goes right to J-Dub, and this is probably the moment the Thunder realized the magic of their winning streak had worn off. Great verticality by Champagny means this contact is legal, and then Caruso just biffs the layup by hitting the backboard too far to the right. Clinging to a precarious 4-point lead, the Spurs again go to Wemby at that right elbow against Caruso. On the attempted pull-up, the dribble ends with the right foot down. The next step becomes his pivot foot, and he does not let it come off the floor, so it is legal. I love how they waste no time getting him the mismatch on the elbow again, and I don't love the spacing here. We'd seen the Celtics put their guards in the dunker spot to great effect, but one reason it worked so well is because it meant a guard was the primary help rotation on defense. But Chet is guarding Castle, allowing him to zone up on the help and pretty good verticality as he angles Wemby away from the basket into a weakish fadeaway, and the Thunder are still alive. With a 2-point deficit and virtually no difference between the game clock and shot clock, the Thunder are going to have to foul. However, there is enough time for them to aggressively double, maybe get a steal if the refs don't call anything too overt, but Chet does get Wemby across the arm and gets called for the foul as the ref shows him how it happened. Once Wemby splits the pair, the main objective of the Spurs defense is to make the Thunder take at least 8 seconds off the clock before scoring. Shouldn't be too hard, but Fox makes a big mistake. There's no reason to press this far up the court. He just needed to contain and funnel to help. Instead, SGA beats him so quickly and at such speed that Wemby doesn't even see the ball when he should have been helping, and Castle doesn't want to give up an open corner three so they concede the dunk. Now, for years, Greg Popovich didn't have his Spurs foul when they were up by 3 and less than 10 seconds left, and it burned them a few times when their opponent was able to hit game-tying threes. So I was curious to see if Pop protege Mitch Johnson would buck that trend, and sure enough, Fox takes the foul with 8 seconds left. I get why fans don't like this strategy, but I did a whole video on why it's the better choice than to let a team run a clever play to shake free for a game-tying shot. And the strategy seemed worth it as Chet misses the first. It does help if you make your own free throws, but Wemby misses another clutch one, and the Spurs again very smartly take the foul before OKC can get into a shooting motion. It got spicy on the inbounds, as it appears that Fox just loses the ball out of bounds before Caruso even swiped anywhere near the ball. However, the foul was called by the player control with his left arm around the back, which definitely causes Fox to lose some of his balance, but it was very close. And sometimes refs don't call fouls in these situations to let the players decide. Here's where it got really interesting. With such little time left, I think I'd argue you didn't need the foul here since they had to go the full length of the court. And sure enough, it led to another controversy, as they missed the second free throw on purpose. Remember, Caruso and Vassell must stay behind the three-point line until the release of the ball, and the shooter must stay behind the free throw line until the ball hits the rim or the backboard. Improbably, Caruso beats Vassell to the outside and in one motion shoots it. Who says following up by 3 isn't exciting? Was there a foul? It's another hand as part of the ball play, so it's legal, as the last 2-minute report confirms. And the arm never actually extends into a push. So this is definitely a play on and let the players decide. And that's exactly what happened, as Wemby is letting us all know that the Spurs are the real deal.